This video is sponsored by Skillshare. Your day-to-day is filled with tasks and endless to-do lists. Prioritize your self-care and wellness by using Skillshare as a way to invest in yourself, unwind, and relax. Skillshare offers a variety of classes. I personally love to take their art and illustration classes, as you guys know, but there are times where I'm a bit burnt out and in need of a simple, inspiring way to get back into work again. One thing which helped me with this is to create an environment that I'm comfortable and I feel creative in, so I can get inspired and get back into my workflow. The class by Mimi Chow, Make Your Creative Space a Simple and Inspiring Guide, remind me of just that. It's a simple and relaxed class where she talks about finding and creating your own personal space, no matter what the size of your physical space is. Mimi not only goes through ways in order to build a creative environment, but she emphasizes on creating a space that is available to you, and this might be a small space or even a shared space. I find that her tips are very useful in helping me be aware of my surroundings and getting rid of unwanted distractions to boost my creativity and productivity. Skillshare classes are completely ad-free to limit unnecessary distractions, and their full catalog is available with subtitles in German, English, Spanish, French, and Portuguese. This makes the learning process so much clearer and more engaging. If you guys are interested, the first 1,000 people to use the link in my description box will get a month free trial of Skillshare. Thank you again, Skillshare, for sponsoring this video. Hi everyone, this is Nia, and today I'll be making these very simple and quick glittery Christmas cards. I've had a bottle of glitter for so long and I haven't used it for at least 5 years, and it was just sitting in my room, so I thought of incorporating something with this glitter for this year's Christmas cards. This is so simple and easy to make, and it's great for last minute card making ideas, so let's begin. Let's jump straight into the colors. Firstly, this is Jaune Brilliant Dark by Schmincke, Crimson Lake by Holbein, Vermilion by Holbein, Chinese White by Holbein, and Indigo by Schmincke. And this is the very old glitter bottle that I've had for a very long time. For the glue, I'll be using this white glue, but you can use any liquid glue that you have for paper. As I mentioned before, this is super easy, so I'm going to paint straight away. I'm going to make 2 types of pinks. The first pink mixture that I use is from Crimson Lake, Vermilion, and Jaune Brilliant Dark, and it's going to create this peachy color. I'm just going to paint a line using my Filbert brush. This is so I can have rounded edges. However, if you only have round brushes, you can still use it, but you will have to round the edges manually. For the second pink, I just use a mixture of Crimson Lake with Chinese White, and this pink is going to be a bit more rosy. I decided to warm up the pink slightly, so I added a little bit of the previous mixture into it. This time I'm painting a shorter line on top of the previous line, and to create the round edge on the right hand side, I decided to flip my paper to make it easier so I don't have to twist my hand. The next color I decided to make is from Indigo, Chinese White, and a little bit of Crimson Lake to make the indigo a bit purplish. I'm going to apply it the same way as before, but I made the line shorter. For the next one, I used the exact same color mixture, but I added more indigo and Crimson Lake to make the value darker. And for this one, I'm going to paint under the pink and create a longer line. After this, I'm going to use the exact same color with the same value and create a short line at the very top. For the shortest line, I used the pinks that I already have on my palette, but I added more Jaune Brilliant, and I'm just going to create a very tiny line. You can see that the indigo was still wet, so the pink was running down. I didn't mind it so much, but I didn't want it to run too much, so I decided to stop it really quickly with a hairdryer. Believe it or not, that's it for the painting portion. Now I'm going to add the glitter. For this, I decided to put a bit of glue on this small palette, and I mix in a bit of water to make the glue a bit runny. This turned out to be a mistake, so don't do this, but I ended up doing this for the first layer of glitter. The glue turned out to not be strong enough to hold the glitter, and if I scrape it a little bit with my finger, the glitter would come off. Generally, glitter would do that anyway because of the very small particles. This is why you do want to make sure that the glue is as strong as possible. I'll actually show you how I doubled up the second layer later, but for now just imagine that I'm using the original thick glue, and I'm using a scrap small brush here that I don't really care for because it will get frayed from the glue. I'm just using this brush to paint on a star at the top of the tree and some circles around the tree as baubles in different sizes and random positions. Once I'm done painting the glue, I'm going to sprinkle on the glitter. I only have silver here, so I'm just going to stick with this one color, but I assume that having different glitter colors would also look really festive and fun. So here I'm using my liner brush to pick up the glitter so I can just gently tap it with my finger for it to just trickle down. But you can also use things like a palette knife if you have access to that. A spoon, I'm guessing, would also be fine. I just decided to use a brush because it minimizes the amount of glitter that I pick up so I can reduce the wastage. Here I somewhat remember the positions of my circles, so I'm just brushing the glitter close to those areas. I'm doing this very gently though, so I don't accidentally scrape off the glue or move it elsewhere. So I'm just going to keep doing this, and of course I'm being very careful and slow with this, especially around the star. If I didn't remember certain areas, I would take off the excess glitter so I can see the exact positions, and if I need to add more glitter, I would just pile more on. Sometimes I like to also tap the glitter down so it's well incorporated into the glue. As I brush off the excess glitter, I like to scrape it off to a scrap piece of paper. This way I can reuse it or put it back in the bottle easily. For any areas which needs patching, I would just add more glue and glitter right on top, especially in the stars since the lines are quite delicate. So that's pretty much it. Once I'm done, I'm just going to write Merry Christmas. You can also write any other messages. I wrote mine down in pencil first because I'm very bad at spacing, so I just want to make sure that it's in the middle and it's aligned. After that, I just went over it with my waterproof pen, and that's it. I've left this to dry for a day just to make sure everything's completely dry, and I found out that it was really easy to pick off. So this is me adding more glue right on top, and this is the thick glue that I didn't thin out with water, so you can see that it's more white. And what I'm going to do is just basically to layer on the glue right on top of the glitter, and I also push the glitter down and incorporate as much of the glitter into the glue. So this way it'll bind together more. I actually waited one more day to check the condition, and it was much stronger and more secure. Of course, you shouldn't try to intentionally pick off the glue with your fingers or fingernails because the glitter will naturally come off and stick to things anyway, but it's definitely much stronger after doing the second layer with this thick glue. So just like before, I took the excess glitter off and put it on a scrap piece of paper, and this is the finished result. So moving on to the second card, I'm still going to use the same colors, but I'm going to change up the ratio to create different hues. They would still look like a set since they're still made from the same colors. This is just my version, but feel free to use different colors as well for your cards. So for the first pink, I used the pink that I already had on my palette, but I added more Jaune Brilliant Dark and also a bit more Chinese white. And for the second one, I went to my second tone of pink, but I added more Chinese white and also reactivated the paint that was already on the palette. I also realized that it was quite difficult to paint on the circle with the Filbert brush, so I switched to my round brush. And for the third circle, I'm going to mix the two pinks together. As you can see, I'm just randomly painting on circles in different sizes and different areas. I'm trying to layer on the circles and turn them into bubbles. So I do want to wait for the previous layer to dry before I paint on a different hue on top of it. This way you can see the layers between those two colors. So for these blues, I used the previous mixture that I already had on my palette, but I added more Chinese white to create more of a pastel periwinkle blue. I also changed up the ratio so the previous blue was a bit darker. Next, I'm going to create a purple, so I added a bit more Crimson Lake in the mix and also Chinese white to make this pastel purple. There's still a lot of this purple left on my brush, so I decided to add water to create a thinner consistency of the color to make it more transparent and paint it on top of the pinks. I've got a lot of soft colors here, so I want to make sure they're completely dry before I add on the dark value. I'm just going to use indigo as is in a medium consistency and paint smaller circles. Lastly, I felt like bringing down the composition lower, so I decided to just pick whatever pink I had left on my palette and paint it at the bottom. The indigo was still wet, so it ended up bleeding to the pink a little bit, but I don't mind this too much as long as it doesn't take over the pink completely. After that, I want to make sure everything is completely dry so I can draw on the hangers on the bubbles. After that, I want to attach the strings to the hangers, and I'm just going to draw on lines, but sadly my camera wasn't recording, so I only got this one last line. For the lines, I like to vary the depth slightly by not overlapping all the lines together, so it looks like some of the bubbles are in front of others. If not, it will just look overly too crowded. Next, I'm going to paint on the glue for the glitter. I'm just painting on more circles as bubbles, and as you can see, for the first one I painted on top of the lines because I felt like there were too many lines there at the same place and it just looked too overcrowded, so I'm just going to cover it up with glitter. It's up to you how many glitter bubbles you want to add on, but I feel like 3 is enough for me as accents. I filmed and painted this on the same day, which is why you'll see me still using the thin out glue, but just like the previous one, please use the same method to make sure that the glitter sticks on the paper. Before I take more glitter out of the bottle, I'm just going to use the excess that I have on my scrap piece of paper. Of course, you can just use the ones from the bottle, but I just want to minimize the clutter on my table and use the scrap glitter first. Just like before, I want to pat down the glitter very gently to make sure that the little particles adhere to the glue. That's pretty much it for the second design, and there are too many lines already, so I decided to not draw on the hanger and the line for the glitter bubbles, and I'm just going to write down the Christmas greeting with pencil first. I also changed the font for a bit of variation, then I'll go over it again with my pen. If your glitter isn't adhering too well, you can add the second layer of glue, which I did to finish off this one afterwards, and that's pretty much it. So these are the completed 2 designs. They were so quick and easy to make, and I hope that this will help you in some way if you need to make some last minute Christmas cards. Like usual, all the list of tools as well as my social media links will be listed in my description box. If you're still here, thank you so much for watching till the end, and I'll see you at the next one. Bye!